Welcome to chapter 97 of JoJolion Review. This is going to be a more informal, longer, analytical video going over the current chapter to try and understand what happened better. This was an amazing chapter and one I'm very excited to talk about. In this chapter, a lot of things are confirmed, but dozens of new questions are yet again made as you consider the details more closely. For a while we've been questioning, is the head doctor real? Is it a stand? What the triggers are? Who is a stand user, etc. I believe we can come to a conclusion on some of these questions by looking deeper into the details. Getting on to the actual chapter, we start off by seeing a continuation from the last one, with Mitsuba warning Jobin not to pursue the head doctor. We see Jobin attacks the sheets due to seeing a flame start flying towards Mitsuba, causing an explosion on the window. At this stage we know that the head doctor chasing Mitsuba is a stand ability, at least partially. However, we don't know if there's actually a real Akefu Satoru. That's something we'll discuss later on. After Jobin tries to attack the head doctor and learn about his ability, we see a can of hairspray explode, aiming the scraps at Mitsuba, which Jobin manages to block. We know from previous chapters that anyone pursuing the head doctor will be attacked by objects or other forces in extremely improbable ways, with the damage of said things being multiplied, yet interestingly Jobin is not targeted by the calamity at this point. In the next page we see again that Jobin cannot see the head doctor, which is very perplexing and interesting. We know that Mamazuku, Josuke, Yasuho, Mitsuba, the Teiji University audience, and the journalist from later on can all see his form while Jobin cannot. He hasn't once seen the head doctor since he entered the home and has had to rely on Mitsuba's guidance, and says so many times. Even as far back as chapter 94, we can see that Jobin has not been able to see the head doctor. It's very important to consider why this is the case, so we can understand the head doctor's abilities more. The relation between the characters that can see the head doctor is that they all know about the head doctor's identity, being Akefu Satoru. We know that the head doctor pursuing Mitsuba and Jobin is a stand, and a stand can't be seen by non-stand users, so unless there is a real Akefu, there must be a certain trigger to see the form, such as knowing his falsified name and occupation, or perhaps some other personal detail. This would explain why Mitsuba was able to see Akefu months before, as she had a personal relationship with him, at least for a short period of time, and how the audience can see him as they saw his name from an advertisement in the newspaper and from other natural means. To me, the most compelling piece of evidence is from the prisoner with Mamazuku. The prisoner was unable to see the head doctor until after Mamazuku went on to describe the head doctor in detail, leading to the prisoner's interest, who was then able to see him clearly upon a second viewing. After the explanation from Mitsuba, we see Jobin move from the room to try and find the head doctor's stand user, to which he sees Toru standing outside in plain sight, waiting presumably for the Higashikata house to be killed by the stand ability. While chasing after the head doctor, we see that one of the scraps of hairspray that exploded at Mitsuba hit Jobin in the chest, and which, after he pursues Toru, a massive amount of blood begins to pour from the hole, and from his nose too, as we see Jobin begins to faint. It is safe to assume at this stage that negative karma influences the extent of the damage inflicted against the person, as Mitsuba, someone who has only committed minor misdeeds, only cut her fingers whilst being targeted by the calamity. But Jobin, who has killed numerous people such as Ojiro for selfish reasons, has received perhaps a fatal wound, as did the prisoner with Mamazuku who killed the children. Moving on, next we see probably one of the darkest scenes in JoJolion so far. Toru dancing to The Wonder of You by Elvis Presley as his ex-girlfriend Yasuho, who he supposedly reveres as a goddess, is dying in his view. Obviously Toru does not care about Yasuho in any way, and he has probably used her to gain information as to what the main cast was doing in the hospital, and to lead him to the Higashikata house. Speaking of the song Wonder of You has a lot of significance to the story in Toru, being both a song that shares the title of the recent chapter names, which may indicate the head doctor's stand is called Wonder of You, and also due to the lyrics perfectly describing Toru, and perhaps foreshadowing his motives. Two lines of significance from the song are, "You touch my hand and I'm the king," a ritual we see Toru and Yasuho going through many times. And your kiss to me is worth a fortune, perhaps foreshadowing Toru's motivation in this all, being wanting to gain a profit from their valuable branch. In the second half of the story, we see Josuke's package delivered and be received by a scientific journalist, along with seeing what the contents actually were. We are met by an extremely odd and ominous pose from the head doctor, being frozen in the corner of the room in the pose we've seen him in since his introduction. This actually makes a lot of sense under the context that the head doctor is a long-range stand that can perform actions automatically and can be controlled when needed for complex tasks, like Paisley Park. After seemingly snapping back into reality, we see Akefu immediately hand out his card with his name to the journalist, which, when you think about it, is very strange, as Josuke and Mamizuku believe it to be a fake alias. It is a strange reaction which catches the journalist off guard. The journalist confronts Akefu about the Rokakaka facility in the hospital, and then confronts him on the fact that they have been testing the Rokakaka on patients without their knowledge, which you already knew through Wutomaki, showing him the video of Holly with rock formations on her face. The head doctor then cuts him off and asks for clarification the journalist is in fact pursuing him, to which the journalist agrees. This confirms that the pursuit of the head doctor is in fact the trigger for the event to take place, as this has happened to Jobin pursuing Toru and Mamizuku pursuing the head doctor's projection. Then the head doctor deduces to the journalist that he must have opened the jar and examined its contents to be able to understand what it was, perhaps leaving the fruit's juice on his fingers, and that the fruit must be a Rokakaka branch sent by Josuke. After the head doctor begins to leave, we see by far the most intriguing and mysterious scene in the chapter. We see the journalist's pimples are gone from his face, and the head doctor suggests for him to check himself, which he then begins to touch. Then presumably the fruit's effects come into play, as his face begins to crumble away into rock, along with his neck vertebra, immediately killing him and snapping his neck. This is confusing, however, as we were told from Wutomaki, for an equivalent exchange to take place, 125 grams or more of Rokakaka fruit is required, but this didn't take place, so how did the effects take place too? I therefore think it's possible that by applying the Rokakaka juice to be absorbed by the skin in small amounts, that there may be a different form of exchange. This idea is supported by Wutomaki, previously mentioning that the Rokakaka is absorbed through the skin of the mouth. We begin to end the chapter off by seeing the head doctor is on the move to pursue Josuke, which has been his plan from the beginning. To pursue the head doctor is pointless, but to bring him to you and to face him face on may be more successful. We have to question, however, what the head doctor would be able to do to Josuke, being that he is now the one pursuing. The head doctor is prepared for battle, but what would he be able to do? We know that Mitsu was attacked, while not currently pursuing the head doctor, so does any previous pursuit attempts make you a possible target? In the final scene, we gain more confirmation that Toru is in some form controlling the head doctor, as he is immediately notified that Josuke is inviting one of the head doctor forms to attack him. Gaining this information by any normal means would have been possible, as we see Toru is using an iPod, so it couldn't be used for a message, and Toru is aware despite being focused on listening to music. This retrieval of information is again very similar to Paisley Park, a long-range semi-automatic stand that automatically relays information to its user, sometimes without the user asking it to, or even being aware. So to wrap this episode up, I say we can safely say that there are certain triggers that being able to see the head doctor stand and to be attacked, being perhaps knowing of the Rokakaka lab, or knowing of Akefu's identity. I thought this was an absolutely amazing chapter. I loved all the Toru scenes, they were funny in their own way, and I can't wait to see what happens next with the head doctor versus Josuke. Thanks for watching the video. Leave a like if you like this, and if you want to see more videos like it, and let me know your thoughts on the chapter. I'll see you in the next one.